52 episodes, 52 ordinary people, 52 real stories about things that affect overall health. Because there is a lot more that goes into being healthy than food and fitness. Inspiration, support, a new perspective, and knowledge. You'll find that and more here on the Healthability Project.
Welcome to the Healthability Project. I'm Robin McKenna. On all of this podcast's previous episodes, my guests have shared their journey about something they've gone through, what it was, how they got through it, and how it changed them. This episode is going to be a little bit different. My guest is not going to share her story about what she's been through. Instead, she's going to share her story about a journey she's just embarked on a year and a half ago, to be exact, when she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, or MS, as it is more commonly known. My guest today is Katka Mazurczak. She has been working as a radio journalist, global mobility consultant, as a freelance translator, and culture activist. She moved from Poland to Sweden in autumn 2021. Half a year after living in Sweden, Katka experienced a major flare-up of what would be diagnosed as an MS inflammation. Thank you so much for joining me today, Katka. I am so glad to have you on the show. This is such an important topic to talk about, and I am very interested and eager to hear the evolution of your journey.
Well, thank you for having me, Robin. It is a journey, as you say. It's even listening to your introduction, I do realize that, it's already 1 year and a half. It feels in my mind, it's still very fresh for me. And just like you said, I experienced some major inflammation around May 2021. And that was in a moment of my life when I was preparing to start my first job in Sweden. I was supposed to start my job in Sweden in June. So, and at the same time, I finished an intensive Swedish course language. So I had some spare 2-3 weeks where I already booked a trip to Poland, my home country, to visit my friends before I started the job. So it all started somehow like with pain in my knee, right knee, which also followed with a weird sensation on my thigh of like numbing sensation. So when I touch my thigh, I would not feel exactly that I'm touching this. And sad to say that it was slowly, like very like I would say maybe millimeter by millimeter, but progressing over days. So by mid-May, around mid-May, I was really having this numb sensation along all my leg and experienced also a difficulty peeing, which means I tried to pee and had to squeeze a little bit harder. So at this moment, I was really anxious what is going on because, first of all, my stepping on my toes was really painful. It felt like there's a lot of pins and needles in my right foot, and I even had somebody to borrow me crutches to walk. But before that happened, I also talked with my partner. Should I do something about it? I went to first care doctor and I got some painkillers, which didn't help. And more, I experienced some like dizziness after this medication, which was also, part of the side effects that it was supposed to have.
And the doctor, when you went to the first care doctor, the doctor couldn't figure it out or didn't think anything of it, just thought these were unusual symptoms and wanted to give you some painkiller?
My thought, and that was like also conversation with the doctor, it's something related to my back, because I used to have back issues. I have sclerosis, and I thought that, okay, maybe that's basically because of the sitting lifestyle. not moving too much. So I think he followed the same path. But he gave me just painkillers, stronger painkillers that those over the counter. So I got my prescription drug. And I also experienced this weird dizziness. So I stopped taking this painkiller because apparently it didn't work after a few days, but I still kept getting those dizziness, which later on I learned it was also MS symptom. So experienced this very like nausea and dizziness in the evenings, especially in the evenings. And at that time, I mentioned I really had problem walking, so I was limping. And I went I called this like another line, medical line, where they advised what to do. And the person was really worried when she heard my symptoms, and she advised that I should go to emergency room. So we did go to emergency room. It was Friday night, and they told us, okay, maybe this is not like life-threatening situation, and you could spend like 12 hours here waiting for MRI. So maybe it's better that you come next day for an emergency room for less dangerous situations. So like, emergency care for less, not life threatening. And this is what we did on Saturday. We spent like 4 hours there.
And at this point in time, were you starting to get nervous or worried about what it could possibly be? I mean, at first I would imagine that you were just curious, like this is odd. But as the symptoms continued to go on and just become more extensive, were you starting to get concerned?
Oh, definitely. I'm talking about it with maybe as a reporter telling those events, but I was really frightened that something is going on that I have never experienced. Those symptoms were weird. And as I used to have occasionally knee pain in the past, but these numbing sensations were really weird, like what is going on with my body. On top of that, I would even get this weird sensation that I had the feeling that there was like a cold water leaking on the back of my thigh. So I was like, oh, did I sit on something wet? And it turns out there was nothing, and it repeated a few times. So I had those weird sensations as well. So yeah, apparently, but like the tone, I think it was this call to this helpline and the worried voice of this consultant that made me realize, okay, this sounds serious. The following day, where I spent like around 4 hours. There's usually wait time in those emergency rooms, and I was assigned a number, and my partner couldn't wait with me at some point because it was still COVID restrictions, so he had to leave the room.
Okay.
And I was checked by a medical student, which is a common practice in those emergency rooms, and she was really thorough. She checked all my reflexes, and I also shared my suspicion that it might be some pinched nerve on my spine. And she also measured with the ultrasound the level of urine in my bladder. She consulted twice. She went out of the room twice to consult with someone senior, and they decided that this is still, not serious enough to give me the MRI, but that she would send a referral to my primary care doctor to do the MRI. So I was very frustrated because we waited 4 hours for nothing. And I felt like, I wasted this time, while, I was already planning to go to Poland, as I mentioned. So I decided I'll go to Poland and I'll just pay and do the MRI myself, which I did. But at this moment, I also borrowed the crutches because it was really hard for me to walk. So I've spent like 10 days in Warsaw. Now we're moving from Stockholm to Warsaw, where I didn't have any healthcare in Warsaw. I was out of the country for over a year. So I just went to a private clinic, and I even went to like osteopath massage. And also the osteopath tried to do his best, but he said, you seem like your whole nerve system is very inflamed. Yes, it's like that, because I reacted to everything with such a sensitivity. And he suggested like I maybe it is a discopathy, and that one sentence actually was very It made me really think, because he said, I wish you that it is a discopathy.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, what's worse can it be than discopathy or something like that? So I continued to look for an answer on my own. I went to the orthopedist as well, but advised to do the full MRI check of the whole spine, for which I, of course, did. And in between, I was meeting with my friends, and I continued to have my symptoms grow. What happened then? I noticed that my dizziness would happen during the day. And at that point, I was over a week since I stopped taking this medication. So it was no longer connected to the medication. I would have dizziness. I would have really very sensitive foot. So if I walked for a longer time, I would not only drag the foot, but it was really painful to step on that foot, right foot. And after a few days, it would also start to go over, and it started with the same tingling and numbing sensation on the left foot. So I really started to get really worried, because apparently this was spreading. I was really moving, barely moving with those crutches, and it took me a lot of time to recover after just going out and meeting friends. So basically, normal leisure activities.
The amazing thing is that you were trying to maintain a level of normalcy, and I don't know if that helped to keep you calm, or just having the outlook that I'm going to go and spend time with my friends despite what is going on, if that was helpful for you, or maybe some level of distraction.
I think I was looking for distraction too. Apparently they were worried, but I was just also laughing at that. I try to take my life with a pinch of like humor, so we're a little bit laughing at that. But I said I have no clue what's going on. So yeah, but they were a lot of my friends were updated what is going on at that time. So because I met with them, and I saw me going with crutches.
Right.
So they were worried, and they asked what is going on. I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to go to the next doctor and just keep fingers crossed. So long story short, I think it was a third doctor I visited, an orthopedic surgeon. He actually was the first one to say that it is something related to the central neural system, not like a pinched nerve along my spine. And he suggested that I also do the MRI of my head, of the brain, with a contrast, with something that is like enhancing the image, which I did. And that was already my best friend, who is almost like a sister. She asked for a recommended neurologist, and they found somebody who was also like half-time working in a public hospital, half-time privately. So I managed to get an appointment with him the same day that I did my head MRI. So here I am getting into his office, limping, almost falling, and I give him the CD with my MRI that I just did without any like professional description yet. And he was very quick to action, and he started to look at my check my reflexes on my legs, on my eyes, like central neural system. And he looks at the MRI, and he says, "I need to be admitted to a hospital immediately."
Oh my gosh!
Yes.
What?
Yeah. So I'm like, but I don't have any healthcare, and it's in Poland. I need to go to Sweden tomorrow. And he's like, well, I don't know, fix it somehow. I'm calling the hospital that you are going to be admitted tomorrow and writing you a referral. So he was very actually he was my
Consistent.
savior, because his decisive action made me actually go to the hospital the next day. I managed to basically fix my healthcare, because I had to pay up the missed fees for private for the public healthcare. And I had to call my future employer to say, well, I probably won't start at the date that we agreed on in June, because I am just being admitted to a hospital. And in the hospital, actually, at this moment, I must say, I already connected the dots. It could be MS, but it's also an interesting story because it was not a doctor that actually said that, but one of my friends that I visited, she's quite brilliant in many topics, and she happened to know a person with MS, a younger person than me. And she basically connected the dots, and she said that might be multiple sclerosis. And then I said, interesting. And then I started to actually Google the symptoms, and I realized a lot of those symptoms are basically checking in my symptoms, mainly difficulty walking, weird weird sensations, like those feeling of numbness or tingling, or even some people have like sensations of something that doesn't happen. Like I had this water running down my leg, dizziness, also headaches that I experienced a little bit before everything started to happen. I experienced strong headache for like 2 days in a row. So I got admitted to a hospital, and then basically the whole routine happened to all the checkups, and we repeated the MRIs still in the hospital to confirm. And I had the spinal fluids taken from my back to be checked. And well, when basically a lot of things added up, then to stop this inflammation, because that was a huge inflammation going on in both my brain and my spinal cord. I was treated on the steroids for 5 days infusion. So that's a huge amount, almost 1 liter IV every day in the morning. So to stop the inflammation from moving forward. And my friends at the time, because I have no close family right now living in Poland, but my friends used to visit me in the hospital, bring me groceries, bring me water. Basically, they were so helpful. They organized it themselves. And we had like one chat where I would just assign tasks, and they would share who can come in which day and at which hour. And my partner just basically came to Warsaw the next day, the following day that I was admitted. So yeah, I got the full support from my partner and my friends. They were there for me. I would even say that I met maybe more friends during that time in the hospital, and I spent altogether 10 days than the previous 10 days that I was just on the leisure mode. But yeah.
And to have that support network right there for you, I mean, that had to be so valuable. I mean, obviously it's not going to change the physical issue, but just the peace of mind to know you're not alone.
Oh, definitely. I needed somebody to be there with me, because otherwise I would freak out probably. Although I was very quick to like logically accept this diagnosis, even though it took some other medical checkups to officially confirm it. But for me, it made all sense. I'm quite a rational person, so I was reading not like Google, or Wikipedia. I think I went on straight to some medical journals to read about what is the process of what are the criteria, and I basically checked all the points. I had over 20 lesions in my brain where, according to McDonald's criteria, they need to be at least 2 over some time to either in the brain or in a spinal cord to confirm MS. So people are actually struggling with MS. People who are having MS symptoms, or they suspect they have MS symptoms, sometimes they struggle to get diagnosed for a long time. I was not the case, because I basically checked a lot of boxes at the same time. And the doctor who admitted me, he confirmed that. So he saw that I'm quite curious about the medical stuff. So he would send me on my email an article to read about the criteria of recognizing and treatment different type of MS. So it was thanks to the intuition of one of my friends that actually connected the dots and made me think this is not the spine issue, but an MS. And I must say that while a lot of people, I think it is a terrifying news, because for me, MS was, I didn't know about it much. Besides, I had an image of somebody on a wheelchair,
Right.
which turns out to be not true. A lot of people have this image still that this is somebody who will not be able to walk. But at the same time, I already got the first-hand information that the medicine has progressed in the past 10 or 15 years to the moment that this can be stopped and managed. And people have with MS can have the almost like a life expectancy as almost like people without that condition. So this rational approach made me maybe approach it in a calmer way, not to, freak out.
Right.
I know that there's like a lot of people who are really like grieving, and I want to talk about my grieving process too, because I went to acceptance very fast. At the same time, my best friend was a little bit in a denial. So she was still hoping it is not this. And it was me that actually had to convince her. But this is all the facts here. It's this, like, but we can manage it. I had to convince her that we can manage it. It's not a life sentence. We will manage it because I already read in a very short time. I read a lot about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my friend was in a denial. I had to convince her this is it. So
And you were the one with the diagnosis. That's
yeah.
that says a lot about, the value of mindset, right? And
Mm.
determination, and that you're going to control it rather than it controlling you.
Yeah, I'm very control person. I wanted to control it, and I wanted to know everything about how to manage it, different types of MS, because there's like remitting, relapsing type, and a progressive type, and a secondary type. And we had a really interesting conversation with the doctor when he came to check up on me. So I'm already vegetarian, so we also had a conversation about how the diet can influence life quality. And he said that it's already good that I'm resigned from red meat or meat in general, which is like high inflammatory thing. But then, there was the whole path of me to uncover still about diet, rehabilitation, physical activity. Everything was new, and I was still going back to Sweden. So my big question and fear was, how am I going to do it in Sweden and starting the new job at the same time?
Right.
Because those symptoms were really limiting me in so many ways that I was frightened that I will not be able to deliver. I had difficulty walking. I had to look for a toilet because I had also problems with controlling those muscles, because maybe for listeners who don't know what MS is an inflammation of the myelin, the white substance in the brain, which is basically the one that helps transmit the neural signal to different parts of the body. So depending where in the brain or in the spinal cord this inflammation happens, where this nerve is damaged, then the signal is interrupted, and it can be totally random. It can impact so many different parts of the body. So not only motoric function, but also cognitive functions like forgetting the words, or problems with speech, or problems with eyes, which is very common first symptom, that a person loses the sight of one eye. Usually it's on one eye. But also controlling the muscles of the bladder and the rectum. So shit happens, really. It can be both ways. It can be one of them, it can be both. So basically the necessity of knowing when I'm going for example somewhere in the public, when I'm in the public in the city, where's the nearest toilet, it became a necessity for me to plan my journey. Or if I'm going on a meeting, a social meeting, this is also very critical to know where the toilet is, where there is an access to toilets. So this is how it's like changing your life on a everyday basis. So I came back to Sweden, still after this huge dose of steroids, but I kept getting more symptoms. And I was really, at this moment, really tired because it was a very stressful period. I tried to keep up the good mood and also meeting with friends, but at the same time, I was really maybe suppressing my fear. So I think this like next month after I came back to Sweden and I tried to figure out how to continue my treatment in Sweden, I experienced one panic attack at night when I thought that I'm not be able to breathe for some reason. But yeah, that was one time incident when I really felt this whole fear and going off me basically from the past month. So yeah, basically I was like around a month I was still at home waiting for some appointment for neurologist in Sweden to come, and still not working. At this time, I would say, in a hindsight, I would prefer working to occupy my mind with something, because this is the time where not doing anything basically was really not good for my mind. I already read whatever there was to read about MS. I started to look through some forums for people with MS and discovering, so this is also something that could be MS symptoms that I might have not realized in the past. And then I realized that maybe my knee problems that would occur like every year, every 2 years, maybe it was also MS related, but because I was diagnosed with relapsing remitting MS.
Okay.
Yeah.
How has this diagnosis changed you, your mindset, your outlook? How has your lifestyle changed? I mean, this is a significant impact to your life, both emotionally and socially, physically.
Yeah.
And how are you managing all of that? Do you meditate? Do you do yoga?
I started to do yoga more. I tried yoga before, but I did find it is really a good way to calm down and get in touch with the body, because also MS is understanding what the body needs, and we are so bad at recognizing what our body needs. And I would be the person who would work long hours and dismissing the signals from my body for a long time. And now I try not to do that. So whenever I'm really tired, I would say I need to go and have a nap, or I need to lie down and rest, because this is what my body needs. And biggest symptom that is a part of MS is a fatigue. So for a lot of people, it's not, when I try to explain that, it's just like being tired, but you're tired all the time. It doesn't matter how long you sleep, you just wake up tired. And some social situations, or if there's like a lot of things happening at once, can also overwhelm the central nervous system. For some people, it is the heat also, and in general, stress. Yes. So if I am working in a very stressful, high demanding work environment, this is not good for me. Yoga is helping to release this stress. That's really good to mention that. But also, I mean, apart from yoga, I'm also going through a treatment, which is an IV treatment with disease modifying treatment, because it's not something that can be cured, but it can be modified. So the modification is basically an off-label medicine called rituximab that is depleting the B lymphocyte cells that are attacking my own body, that are attacking this white matter, myelin, and my brain. So it's basically it's called immunomodifying therapy, because it's not totally depleting my immune system, but it's like lowering certain B cells to the point that they are not attacking my own body. So now I'm preparing for my third treatment, that right now I'm on every year a treatment. The first one is after 6 months, and then the other treatments are on a yearly cycle. In the future, if there is no progress or no new lesions, then maybe every 18 months, we'll see. So I'm constantly under supervision of the neurologist, and also I started rehabilitation with the MS specialist physiotherapists, which is so good because I also meet a lot of people who have been diagnosed already 10, 15 years ago, and I can see they are still fine. They are still kicking ass in the gym. And this is possible to live with MS and still be very active in a lot of areas. And there are people who are already pensioners. So, well, I can't compare to them. I just finished 40 years. So my diagnosis came just before my 40th birthday, and I still have around 30 something years of professional life before me, but ahead of me. But it's good to see for me, it was really good for me to see that there are people who also work full time or part time, or they can adjust their lifestyle and work-life balance, because I hear them saying, I only work when I want, which is, I know it's not a luxury not many people have this luxury, but it might be possible with a good communication, I think,
Sure.
to the colleagues, to your employer. What are your expectations? And I would really strongly recommend to anybody to be open about it. I am open about my MS with my colleagues and with my employer. Well, it would be really hard to hide it, because I went to the hospital at the moment where I was to start. But I know, like, for people, sometimes it's really hard to admit that they have, well, an illness, a debilitating illness, or especially illness that the symptoms are not visible on an everyday basis. Nowadays, I don't walk with crutches. My changes in walking is probably not visible to somebody who doesn't know that this can be MS. So it's not visible on the first sight. So that's why I think it is necessary to be vocal for the people to understand that, well, yeah, I'm not lazy. I just need to recharge and I need to lay down. Or maybe I can't work as long hours as the others because my battery range is shorter than yours. And for people who maybe go and party after work, it's completely fine to recover and come next day to work. But if I continue to go to a party after work and stay up late, then I would have to recover for the next few days from that. So it's a matter of communication and also understanding, like, connecting with your own body and its needs to read it properly. I need the rest. I need to take the rest now. Yeah. I have to mention my partner has been so supportive in all of this, because not only he came to Poland to support me, took a time off, but we immediately started to think about adjustments, maybe adjustments in the apartment, which weren't necessary, but he was helping me a lot. We also decided that, okay, to ease, to have a help with tidying, we'll use the service of cleaning every other week. So that's helping a lot. This is like, I wouldn't have made it without him. And he's also very encouraging me. We did a hike this summer, so he was encouraging me to go beyond, to reach out, to try it and take as much. I was taking as many steps, as many rests and breaks on this hike, but we managed to hike. And I was so proud of me that
that's great.
After all these things that I thought I'm never gonna be walking that much, or I'm never going to be doing this, it's the world is not closed for me. We still can travel, and we'll still basically will adjust to that. Because this is frustrating feeling, I think, that I'm not going to be the same person as I used to be. I wanted to travel. I wanted to do a lot of things. Apparently, I can. I will just need to readjust my life to it.
Right. It's an amazing story of acceptance, determination, and being open to the adjustment, and being aware enough to reevaluate. And like you said earlier, being vocal about your situation, because it's not that you can't do the work. You just have to do it in a different way. than others. And,
Exactly.
that's perfectly acceptable. But yeah, I think also too, you talk about being vocal about your condition. And I think, or I wonder rather, for those that aren't vocal about it and living in this state of fear of hiding, having it come out adds to the stress that you need to actually mitigate in order to manage MS well. And so you've
Mm.
championed that already.
I mean, everybody has their own coping system. I just said it wouldn't work for me
Right.
because, yeah, just like you said, it takes so much energy to pretend that you are fine when you're not,
Right.
or pretend that you are full of energy when you're not. Or in like when I'm working and I have younger colleagues, and it's like a competitive environment where people are like sportsy and want to go outdoors. So wherever we would have like a outing and
Mhm.
activities in the team, they would be like participating in some activities that require, for example, walking or running. And I need to say, okay, you do this, I'll observe and take pictures. And I take it with a laugh, but they know
Yeah.
that I'm not gonna take part in any walking or running activity. Although I've seen people now in my group in MS rehabilitation that they are still very active because they have been sportsy all their life, and they also managed to continue that with MS. So everybody has their own approach. I don't think that a major life event can change you dramatically. I mean, maybe, but I am still the same person, and I haven't been a very sportsy person. So the only thing that changed is like I know that I need a regular physical activity, but I'm not gonna start running marathons out of the
Right.
sudden because I haven't been that person before.
Right.
But I really, really adjusted my mindset to be on a more like have more regular lifestyle, to
Mhm.
implement these very helpful activities or stretching and MS adjusted exercises, because
Mhm.
exercising is very important in MS. But it doesn't mean that you suddenly need to be a fitness star or challenging yourself to your limits if you haven't been that person. So just stay close with who you were before the diagnosis, and just don't resign from anything because of that. I would say I didn't want to resign from traveling, and I am intending on keeping on traveling with
Good.
MS. Yeah, there are some aids where there are walking aids that can help with the walking. There's a lot of other adjustments that can be made in the lifestyle, in the diet, apparently as well. I mentioned the vegetarian diet, but I also try to eat more fiber and basically cook on my own, and instead of processed food that unfortunately I was living a fast-paced life, and I would usually very often order ready-made food. That's not great. So I try to make some adjustments, definitely for a better. But I think also my mindset about how I work has changed, and I did some rethinking about what is it that I like to do, and what have I been working with until now. And the realization came that the thing that I was doing, the global mobility, is quite stressful, and it will always be, because it's dealing with people who are relocating to other countries. And I realized maybe I should try something else. So it's also reevaluating what is it that you do, and is it something that you can adjust as well, and maybe changing it to something that is more manageable. So right now I'm in the middle of changing my work, actually, where I will do something more with one of the languages that I learned,
Nice.
Yiddish, and moving from the corporate job to public state institution where well, it's been a while since I've been working with the language or culture events or cultural projects, but there's also a work which I already know will be a different pace than what major like for majority people who are working in a big corporation is. So I expect to have a a change for the better. And I definitely will be vocal and putting setting my expectations from the beginning about my work-life balance.
Great. Wow. On that note, what a great conversation, and so many important positive messages. And I think I like mostly when you said that you are not going to resign to letting MS limit you, and that you're going to keep on track with what it is you want to do in your life. And that's super important. So bravo. Thank you very much. I'm sure
Thank you.
Whoever decides to listen to this episode will find it very inspirational. I know I did. Thank you so much for your time, Katka. Really, really appreciate you sharing your beginning of your journey.
I hope it could be inspirational for someone. And my main message is like stay true to yourself. And MS is not the end of anything or any other chronic illness. Yeah. It is pain in the ass, but it is manageable.
Great. Thank you again. Listeners, thanks so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can reach me at thehealthabilityproject@gmail.com. Tune in next week. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us today at the Healthability Project. We'd love to hear from you, so please email us your questions, comments, or suggestions, including future guests, to thehealthabilityproject@gmail.com. And please like us, subscribe, and share us with your friends.